Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Grandmaster Shaymin. In the last episode, we had some crazy stuff go down as number 12 wreaked havoc all over a hospital, and Keiko ended up spilling her guts, figuratively, to number 12, resulting in what will be her elimination shortly, unfortunately. It should be interesting to see, what happens with that. If you did not see it, make sure you go back and watch it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already for future content. Make sure you click that like button down below because you already know your support's greatly appreciated. But after that whole shenanigans went down, we went back to the Lion House. The only thing we speak on our return journey is what happened in the nursery. Otherwise, we walk along in silence. Unsurprisingly, I've obtained the same cards as number 12, though I no longer have any desire to eliminate her. There's something I want to say to Naomi. I'll take you to the station. It's a bit dangerous for you to go it alone with broken glasses. Right, thank you. I spend our journey to the station wondering if I have it in me to say what I want to her. The longer I hold it in, the harder it'll be to say. That's why I need to say it now. I may feel like I'm making up excuses, but I reached my conclusion. I told you not to do anything dangerous, didn't I? Huh? Wait, that's not quite what I mean. I'm at fault for not realizing how dangerous things could get. I never once considered that a situation like that could actually occur so easily. I figured things might get dangerous, but I failed to see the full picture until tonight. You told me that you'd help me bear the burden, and for that I'm thankful. Just knowing you're willing to do that for me is enough. Everyone's putting their lives on the line here. There's no telling what sorts of other participants will try down the road, either. That's why I'll handle the rest on my own. So you mean... I nod to reaffirm her presumption. I really couldn't be happier over her decision to help me. It's far more for me than she could ever imagine. But the more I rely on her, the more danger I'll be putting her in. That's why I force myself to stay silent. Otherwise, I might renege on my own statement. I understand. I made those bold claims about saving you and protecting you, but all I managed to do was get in your way. That's not true at all. If you weren't there for me, then I don't know what I would have done. But still, I don't want to put you in danger. It's okay. I see where you're coming from. I'm the one who broke my word to keep myself from danger. I'm sorry, and thank you. I'll be able to make it through this just knowing you're here for me. I can handle things on my own now. I try to guide her to the station after our talk. Don't worry. I'll be fine. I can make it home by myself. She makes her way to the station without me, and I can't bring myself to chase after her. I'm certain I'll start to rely on her again if I do. I really should have left our talk until we reached the station. But no, I'm too dumb to think that far ahead. If I had, she wouldn't have to walk the streets at nights all alone. That's dangerous as fuck. Oh god, please don't tell me something happened to her. I wake up in the middle of the morning. I wake up the next morning, I feel miserable. I didn't have any dreams last night. Well, I don't think I did anyway. There's no doubt they would have been nightmares if I had any. Maybe that's why I don't remember. Might as well get the store ready. Fortunately, I'm able to get the store up and running like normal. Probably because work could keep my mind off everything else. Oh man. Before long, it's afternoon. The number of customers drops significantly around this time thanks to the current lack of proper food menu. Oh. Table for one. Well, two, is that okay? Kamibuchi Keiko arrives, her baby in her arms. I see no reason to turn them down, so I lead her to an empty table. She orders coffee, so I'll make sure to brew it like I always do. The last thing I want is to let any of my sadness or sympathy leak into it. Oh, man. It's so hard because like Rika was saying, when she flat out lied and when she was trying to be underhanded, it was kind of like, well, I mean, I don't really feel as bad for you anymore because you're a deceiving little bitch. But then, man, but then all that stuff that happened in the last part, it must suck. Like, she's got to be feeling completely torn up right now. That, you know, she's gonna get erased. And it was only after she had been brought back that she was able to convince them to name her child. Ah, man. This is delicious. She doesn't order anything for the baby, which isn't surprising. Not like we have anything that a baby could enjoy in the first place. I mean, that's a little unnecessary then, eh? Hey, mind if we have a little chat? She's the only customer at the moment, so I accept her offer. The truth is, I couldn't help but think how lovely your name was the moment I saw it on the card. That came out of nowhere. I've been meaning to tell you since we first met. I felt that your name didn't suit you once I saw that you in the dream world, just a scared little child. I was disappointed in all honesty. Your name evokes a certain dignified image, and yet you were quite the opposite. It's kind of annoying to hear, but I can't really argue with it. Damn, Jesus. I really must have looked helpless in the dream world. Anyway, you're completely different in person. That look in your eyes here is far more dignified than any other participant. Your words are filled with passion. You said yesterday that one's name almost represents their life. It reminded me of how my grandmother would always tell me not to be ashamed of my name. I never expected her to remind me of that. Sounds like a lovely... Oh, that was... Frick, sorry. Sounds like a lovely grandmother. Do as she says. Treasure that name of yours. She finished off her coffee along with that train of thought. I have a request for you. A request? I'd like for you to take this letter. I ask that you transcribe it for me, even though it sounds like a pain. It's a letter I wrote to my husband and my child, but it'll disappear if I get eliminated tonight. I included the appropriate address and name inside, so just send it there. If I do get eliminated tonight, it'll have been 3 weeks since I died come Monday, no? The birth certificate needs to be filled within 2 days after a baby's birth, so his name will likely have already been decided. Still, I'd like for them to understand my feelings of the matter. She avoids referencing Haruki by name for some reason. I can't claim to understand why, but I do recognize the reality that he won't have that name when she's eliminated. Are you giving up? Oh no. I can protect myself if I manage to learn all 3 pieces of info about number 12. I've been working on that for a while now, even though the results are hardly uplifting. Maybe I've half given up, but I'll still spend the rest of today doing all I can. Even so, I'm aware it'll probably be a waste of time, and I don't want to hear a peep from you about helping me either. I wasn't planning to. He'd realized we were cooperating if he found us, which means I'd be targeted as well. Besides, I'd fail to carry out your request if I get eliminated. That's what I want to hear. Thank you. She reveals a satisfied smile before continuing. I'm not sure if this will make up for my actions, but I can tell you the one thing I did learn about him. His name is Alan Scorpion. He is a young business entrepreneur from India, having turned his parents' jewelry company into a global business just a few years after inheriting it. Finding that out wasn't too hard since I know his face. There's plenty of info on him on the internet even. By coincidence, I happened to spot a photo of him while thumbing through a magazine. Although I'm sure it was taken long before Divine Selection started. Alan Scorpion. So that's his name. Yes, that's all I can tell you though, especially since my elimination is not set in stone. There's also the fact that, while making this request of you, I'm also betting on you. There's no need for her to explain what she means. She entrusted me with something important, and I know exactly what that is too. Because that's the thing, if Rinka transcribes the letter, that's something she's done after the Divine Selection process has started, which means that she has to win in order for that letter to still exist. So that's going to be kind of important. Alright, I should be going. I'm counting on you. And just like that, she leaves. All that remains behind is her letter. I don't feel any sort of pressure from having accepted it. In fact, shouldering her feelings gives me more hope than what I spent my time worrying about, having to eliminate other participants. I can understand what she wants precisely because we haven't spoken much. With dignity, I take a nice big stretch. I'm on my own from this day forward. The last thing I want to do is bring shame to my name. That was a really cool arc. When I return to my room later that night, a book of cards starts to glow again. 12. Name, Alan Scorpion. To no surprise, it turned out to be his name card. Keiko said that you can find him easily on the internet, so I run a quick search. Little did I expect this many results from a simple name search. This feels a bit too easy, or so I think, but things get complicated very quickly. There's nothing on him from before he inherited the company at the age of 16, let alone anything that related to how he may have died 3 weeks ago. No need to mention that his regret remains a complete mystery as well. But knowing his occupation, where he's from, and especially his name is a big step forward. It may be worthwhile to head back to the library again and look through some newspapers and magazines. As for right now, I've got something more important to do, transcribing the letter from Keiko. Okay, I've written on the paper are thoughts and feelings toward her husband and child. She actually didn't write it as herself, but as one of her friends. That means it'll be far less painful for her husband to read compared to one coming directly from her. Her writing is nice and tidy. Just reading it feels like I'm getting a glimpse of the sort of life she led. I involuntarily tear up when I come to her message as thanks to me that at the very end of the letter. Oh man, she wrote that in? That's the regret of a mother who couldn't fulfill her duty. The letter never makes it explicit, but those feelings are definitely imbued in her words. I wonder if a mother's love represented by her determination to live for her own child's sake. That would make love the first thing that a child receives. I'm sure their name comes after, and their name represents their life. So I'm sure Keiko wanted to bestow such a meaning onto her own child. Families work in myriad ways, but Keiko really is attached to the feelings behind one's name. That's why it's ended up being her regret. I recall what she said about my name this afternoon. That's the one and only thing, other than my life, that I've received from my mother, according to my gran. In which case, she must have passed on her determination and love when I was born. I wonder if I'll be able to pour that same love into another person. I shake my head to clear the thoughts away before I dive too deeply into them. There's no point in wading through them when none of the answers are there. As for my regret, the same applies to this question. The reason I don't know my own regret is because I don't know myself well enough yet. I might be able to take pride in my own life once I learn my regret. But even if I don't make it through, no, scratch that. I know that I want to make it through. Regarding Keiko's letter, reading Keiko's letter has helped me to finally find the resolve I need. I don't want to die without having fully understood myself. Should Keiko be eliminated tonight, I'll mail this letter the very next morning. That'll be my top priority. Once I make that decision, the day begins to wind down. Oh man, my heart hurts. Oh, we're back. Number 12 is going to eliminate her. There still stands Alon, as emotionless as ever. It should go without saying, but this is the court of fate. Good evening, my lovely little slaves of fate. A voice rings throughout the court, clear as a bell. Parka arrives to greet the participants, her innocent smile as an ongoing deception. Tonight brings with it the third round of divine selection. Things have been proceeding rather smoothly thus far, but will that remain the case for much longer? Girl 2. But that's Miharu. But we don't know Miharu's true name, do we? Beating around the bush seems to be your forte. You sure you're not just trying to sound mysterious by spouting random nonsense? Oh, you certainly are brash. Whether or not this is the case is none of your business, I fear. Alan stares at number 2 as she talks with Parka. His gaze shifts between her and the girl beside her, number 1. Oh, wait, are we in kind of a third-person point of view from Alan? He deduces... Oh, that's why it says girl 2 and we don't see it as Miharu. Okay, so we're in a third-person omniscient point of view of number 12 here, Alan. He deduces that they are acquaintances, having noticed them conversing during the first night. Number 2 is proven to be far more wary than he imagined, with little to show from his information hunt on her. Meanwhile, number 1 is willing to risk herself for the sake of another participant. Eliminating her should prove to be an easy task, he has no doubts about that. And yet, he finds himself curious about her. She chose to stand in his way when he had Keiko cornered, for reasons unknown to even him. The fire in her eyes back then was so... Very well, then, allow us to begin tonight's election. Alan's train of thought was interrupted by the goddess's announcement. Realizing that such thoughts are but a hindrance, he focuses instead on the matter at hand. Revolve, O clock of fate! The clock's movement signals the beginning of the night's election process, which starts with number 1. What's interesting, though, is that we didn't get anything with Federico or Odette. Which they said they were going to Japan, which it's been a week since that had been determined, which means that they should be in Japan by now. Which is interesting. The goddess claims that at one's position on the dial provides neither advantage nor disadvantage, but Alan disagrees. Should 2 participants elect the same person, one can earn priority by revealing a card about oneself. However, the higher your number, the easier it is to prevent that situation from occurring. The only reason to take such a risk is when one knows that the person they plan to elect is in possession of a card one needs. To take that effect as number 12, Alan feels he has a significant advantage. Alan considers the idea that number 1 will opt to elect Keiko. She should be in possession of all 3 of Keiko's cards. She should create a situation where both she and Alan can elect Keiko. That would be a win-win for her, as it would result in either Keiko's survival or one of his personal cards being revealed. That's why he has no intention of electing Keiko should number 1 do so. The risk of being caught up in a simultaneous election far outweighs the benefit of gaining one of the cards Keiko possesses. He's well aware of his position within society, so he fully expects that Keiko has already discovered his name. It is likely that she revealed this information to number 1 as well. This guy is pretty smart. He's also kind of a dick at the same time. However, his name is the only thing she should have been able to find out about him. As such, should number 1 have to eliminate Keiko, she will gain no new information about him. I have no one to elect. Number 1 passes on electing her. This comes as no surprise to Alan. In fact, the odds of this happening were far higher than the scenario he anticipated earlier. As the clock spins around, number 11, who had elected someone last time, passes as well. The woman happens to be the one he's most wary of. It's plain to see that she's a far cry from being ordinary, not only due to that body of hers, but also because of her attitude. For instance, she blows him a kiss as the clock's hand slows to a halt in front of him. This speaks volumes about her character. I won't allow myself to be provoked, he mutters under his breath, preventing anyone from hearing him. And you, good sir? I elect number 8. He states his intention with apathy. In the next moment, the platform he stands on rumbles and begins to ascend. Oh, well, damn. Both his and Keiko's platforms rise to the upper sanctum. The goddess appears before them there, her face contorted into a wry smile. Keiko's composure serves to be a bit of surprise to Alan. It's hard to believe that she would be so composed after the despair she put on display when he obtained her name card. Much like Ro before her, he expected to hear some emotional wailing. Do proceed. This marks Alan's second time electing someone, so he's acquainted with the process. Once his cards are gathered in front of him, he only has to read each one that is relevant. But of all of his cards, those related to Ro have lost their glow. Her name is Keiko Kamebuchi. She died of a brain hemorrhage. Her cards react as he reads them aloud. Her regret is... Hey, you know what it's like to have a family, don't you? Her question interrupts his process. Don't speak to me! My son will live, so I'm not afraid of being eliminated. I didn't spend much time with him, but I was still able to become a mother. Maybe I won't be able to name him, but I'm sure he'll grow up to be strong even without that. After all, a name only represents one's hopes. It can't change their nature. I'm sure your parents named you too. At the very least, quit involving anyone and everyone in your path of selfish destruction. Do it for your parents' sake. You mean to imply that one can do something for the sake of those who have passed? Death is the end of one's existence. Nothing follows it. That's why those who live should do everything they can for their sake, and their sake alone. Alex finds himself infuriated by Keiko's words. His face remains emotionless, but his eyes scream another story. I have no issue resorting to any means necessary for my own sake and to protect what's important to me. I care not for the consequences of my actions, nor for the people caught up in them. It's just that simple. His tone is bitter. While her words have riled him up, he never allows his emotions to slip off his tongue. He feels that he's handled the situation in a controlled manner. However, Keiko offers him a smile before continuing. You're pushing yourself, aren't you? Your regret is your child's name. He says this to cut her off. Next, the three cards whose contents he spoke float away from him. Once they reach the middle of the Court of Fate, they come together and form a triangular shape. Once in formation, they begin to emit a white light one by one. Alan knows what comes next, so he closes his eyes and allows it to happen. He's gonna experience a brain hemorrhage? Fuck. And, well, does it happen? The event took place in an intensive care unit. A nurse carried a sleeping newborn over to its mother. Yeah, it was after. Could you imagine having it during? Man, that would be so painful. This guy would probably, like, freaking... I mean, he's built like a god, but damn, like... They say nothing's more naturally painful than giving birth. So, doing that and then having a brain hemorrhage at the same time would be a little intense. Its voice, that of an angel, its existence, the very concept of hope made flesh. Haduki. One couldn't say for certain whether or not her final words were heard at all. Names do nothing but chain down those whom they're attached. There is no hope to be garnered from them. That is the reason Alan prefers to take name cards of those he eliminates. He is fully aware that regret cards are the most difficult to obtain. Regardless, he believes in full sincerity that the names chain their bearers down, that one can come to understand another by knowing their name. I name. 3 regret. 10 cause of death. 12 name. So my name was known. However, sticking to his beliefs, he had already decided which card to take. Number 1's name, huh? Keiko. Number 12 returns to the court having finished his election. He chose to take my name card. Of all the options he had, Alan Scorpion purposely took my name card. Keiko likely had cause of death and regret cards as well, so he must have gone with me knowing he's already met me in person. I had the option of electing Keiko too. Had he still tried, I could have created a situation where either Keiko would survive or he would have to reveal one of his personal cards. But I noticed the inherent flaw in the numeral system because of that. I can say for sure that he would never have elected her if I had done so. Why did he go for your name? It'll be fine. Miharu glares at him. I'd likely do the same if he'd gone for her name. But I'm not glaring. I pierce him with my eyes instead. Not only do I know his name, but we've already met, and he also knows the area I live in. It was only a matter of time before he found out my name. To my own surprise, I'm not shaking. His presence is as imposing as ever, but I can now stare him dead in the eyes without issue. It's my way of telling him, bring it the fuck on, bitch. The resemblance truly striking. I don't bother to ask what he means by that. I can't say for sure whether he's shouldering a story of his own, but right now I have zero desire to exchange words with him. Tonight's session resulted in 1 elimination. I bid you farewell for now. Shortly after, Parka brings an end to tonight's round. So our third election process has been completed. Well, I think that's a pretty good stopping point, as Keiko's elimination has been secured, which leaves us with 9 participants remaining in the process. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up button down below for me, because you already know your support's greatly appreciated. Hit that subscribe button for future content, and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on Fatal 12 down in the comment section below for me, and we'll see you all next time.